To begin this lesson, open the Shining Stone sample file from your Sample Files folder. And open the code behind file of buy.aspx. We are now going to create an if statement. First, remove all existing code from the Button Submit Order Click Event Handler. And replace it with the following: bool accepted terms equals checkbox accept terms dot checked. This code should make sense to you by now. It creates a Boolean variable called accepted terms, which will be true if the checkbox accept terms control is checked, and false if it is not. Note that the checkbox accept terms control was created in the Session 4 exercise. If error messages appear when you type this line, you should download the incremental sample files and use the appropriate sample file for this lesson. Next, add the following code on the next line. If begin brackets accepted terms equals true end brackets begin curly brackets end curly brackets. This is the first time you've seen the equals equality operator. Some programming languages use a single equals sign for both assignment and equality. C# uses the double equals sign for equality and the single equals sign for assignment. For example, accepted terms equals true assigns the value of true to the accepted terms variable. However, accepted terms equals true checks whether the value of the accepted terms variable is equal to true. You've just created a very simple if statement. As you can see, the code is very similar to the code you used to create methods. Everything inside the curly brackets will only run if the accepted terms variable has a value of true. In other words, the code inside the curly brackets will only run if the user has checked the checkbox accept terms control. Next, add the following code inside the if statement, that is, between the curly brackets. Response.write terms OK. View the page in your browser now. Next, complete the form without checking the I accept the terms and conditions box. If you now click the Submit Order button, the page posts back, but nothing interesting happens. If you now check the I accept the terms and conditions box and click Submit Order again, this time the logical test in the if statement returns true and terms OK appears at the top of the page. As you can see, it's quite simple to test for a single condition. However, you can make your program's logic more complex by putting if statements inside other if statements. Just like putting HTML tags inside each other, this is known as nesting. Close your web browser now. Next, add the following code inside the if statement you created earlier. If, begin brackets, page.isValid, end brackets, begin curly brackets, response.write, validation OK, end curly brackets. Note that as well as using curly brackets, you can put an if statement on a single line. For example, if page.isValid, response.write, validation OK. Of course, this is useful only if you have just one line of code you intend your if statement to run. Some programmers prefer to use the curly brackets even when they want to run only a single line of code, as this is more consistent and makes the code easier to understand. As you may remember from lesson 4.8, page.isValid is the server-side confirmation that your form's validation controls are happy with the form's content. Your if statement will now check if the accepted terms variable is true, and will only check the page.isValid property if so. You might want to do this if you intend to reject the user's order if they do not accept the terms and conditions, making any further validation checks pointless. View the page in your browser now. Next, complete the form without checking the checkbox Accept Terms control. If you now click the Submit Order button, once again, nothing happens. The checkbox Accept Terms control wasn't checked, so neither of the if statements succeed. Now check the checkbox Accept Terms control and submit the form again. This time, both if statements succeed and the results are shown on the page. Close your web browser now. Note that the first if statement you create in this lesson is a rather long-winded way of checking if the checkbox Accept Terms control is checked, but it is the easiest to understand. You could have shortened the code to if accepted terms. An if statement always looks for a true result by default, so this will do exactly the same thing as == true. You could even shorten the code further by changing it to if checkbox accept terms .checked. This works because the checked property is itself a bool value. If statements always work with bool values. They run if the bool is true, and don't if the bool is false. You've now completed Lesson 7.1. Use the if statement.